I'm about to pick up my toothbrush and tell this funny joke. I couldn't think of anything. I don't know what I thought about when I picked that toothbrush up and put it in my bag and stuff, but I couldn't think of a joke for it. And then I stare at this giant tooth that I've got. Same thing, my mind is blank. I can't think of a joke for these things. I got a giant toothbrush. I got a giant tooth. I don't know. I don't know what to say. And I got all these things like, what did I bring this clown for? What was my joke for the clown? Well, to make a long story short, I got an audience of 6 people there. And it must have been just a family, I suppose. And then this family waiting for my jokes. I can't come up with them. So this other fellow who arrived, who was another comedian in my school, he was a fellow student with me. He said, "Keith, let me do it." And he takes all my stuff, and one by one he goes after each. Each comes up with a line. Every one of them a funny joke. The guy knows just what he's doing. He's gifted for this, evidently. He knows how to come up with jokes and he's picked everything that I've picked out. He's never seen it before, and he's telling jokes where we're all laughing our heads off. And of course, even though I'm laughing, I'm thinking, why couldn't I have said that? Why could I have thought about it? I'm just not made to be a comedian, I guess. Well, everything's over. The show's done. I went over and I thanked the family for being so gracious to me. I'm sorry I wasn't as funny as I thought I was going to be. And shook their hands. And then I said goodbye. Got on my motorcycle, headed back home with no problem. Packed up everything, brought it all there, put it right back where I'd picked it up the day before. So it was back in the rooms where it all belonged. And nobody ever knew that I'd taken it out. Well, let's move the story up with 3 months or so. It happened to be in Kingsland, is close to St. Mary's, Georgia. So sometimes I would take a break from a school and I'd go eat lunch in St. Mary's. And this was one of those days I decided I'd just take a break, drive to St. Mary's, have lunch, sit outside for a while in the restaurant that has the tables outside. You look at the river and you just kind of enjoy the scenery for a while and chill out, and then you go home. Well, they have a little enclosure right next to the river. And so I went over there and sat for a little while. There's a man on the other side that I didn't pay much attention to, and obviously he wasn't paying much attention to me. I look at the river and I enjoy it, and I enjoy the weather, and don't have much of a care in the world. And so I've enjoyed it, and it's time for me to go home. So I get up and start to walk to my car. And this man who is sitting on the other side of this enclosure says, "Keith Johnson, Mr. Keith Johnson." I stop and turn around. I don't recognize him. I say, "Sir, do I know you? I don't owe you money, do I?" He says, No. Remember when you were at Kingsland at that bar that you told your jokes about? I said, "Well, yeah, I think so." Wasn't sure I wanted to admit it. He said, "It was me and my family. You remember my family?" So I took a better look at him, and then I realized, oh, yeah, he was the guy who I apologized to because I didn't come up with good jokes. And that's the night that I was soaking wet. Was almost ashamed to get on stage. I apologized again. I said, "It's good to see you." He said, "I have to thank you. You don't know it, but that night I was so depressed that I was ready to end it all. I had lost my job 2 days before. I didn't know what to do. I took my family to that little place where you were, and I was going to enjoy some comedy. And then after the comedy, I was going to take my family home and I was going to end it. I was done with life. But when I watched you struggle with your jokes, and yet we're so honest and open, I thought, this guy has a passion for living. And I need that kind of passion too. He said, because he happened to be there that night and watched my very poor performance, and it was a poor performance, he said he wanted to continue with his life and he was sorry he had the thought of ending it. I was amazed. I was amazed at what I heard from him. I was amazed at that story, and I had thought a night that was so empty, where I had done such a poor performance of comedy, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get somebody to enjoy life. He seemed to get some passion and enough spirit to maintain and maybe get better. So we sat and talked for an hour. Nice guy. He still maintains contact with me, but he's full of life. And by the way, he's enjoying a human resource position in a company where he's getting people hired. And he says he talks to these people and he tries to help them to get a spirit of motivation as he talks to them. And he does it every day. And he's so grateful for what I had done in Kingsland, Georgia. Well, I didn't do much of anything. I prayed to God to be able to use me if he could. I asked him for guidance, and I did my best to mumble through a very poor comedy performance. I was amazed to meet somebody. I wasn't even scheduled to be at that lunch. I was just surprised to see him and to connect him with that strange performance that I almost didn't go to because it was soaking wet and raining. I still think about those props that I had. I still can't come up with any comedy lines. But I was grateful to meet somebody and I guess give them a little unexpected inspiration. You never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what good you might be able to do